Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's story is a deep, emotional, mature confession from a man whose life took an unexpected turn the moment he forgave someone who crossed his line. What started as healing turned into temptation, and what followed became a secret that still lives in the shadows. This isn't just a story about desire. It's about mistakes, redemption, forbidden comfort, and a choice that changed two lives forever. Stay tuned, you won't forget this one. I've always believed that every relationship has an invisible boundary, a thin line you hope the other person never crosses. I crossed mine first. Before everything happened, before forgiveness became a kind of dangerous invitation, we were simply two adults who should have never ended up alone together. I won't mention her name, she deserves her anonymity. She wasn't caught, and I won't be the reason her life turns to smoke. What I will say is this, she was married, and I was supposed to know better. We met through work circles. Casual conversations turned into comfortable ones. Comfortable turned into charged. Charged turned into something I tried to pretend wasn't happening. I told myself I was imagining the spark, exaggerating the way her eyes lingered on me, the way her laughter softened when I was the one who said something funny. But attraction has a way of exposing liars. Especially the ones lying to themselves. The night the line was crossed didn't start with intention. It started with frustration, hers and mine. She had a fight with her husband. I had a fight with my own life. We found ourselves talking in my car, in the quiet corner of a parking lot where the world felt muted and we could finally breathe. She told me she felt unseen. Not unloved, unseen, ignored, like her husband had gotten too comfortable believing she would never leave. I told her I felt stuck, carrying weight for people who never stopped to ask if my shoulders were tired. We didn't kiss that night. We simply sat close enough that our breaths tangled, close enough that the air between us grew warm and heavy. Close enough that both of us knew what we were capable of if the moment tipped just a little further. But I pulled back. I told her we couldn't go there. She nodded, pretending she agreed, pretending she wasn't disappointed, pretending she didn't want something from me that she wasn't getting elsewhere. The next day, everything changed. It happened on a Thursday, a day too ordinary to carry the weight of a mistake that would follow us both for months. Work had been chaos. She looked exhausted, worn, drained in a way I'd never seen. When I asked what was wrong, she swallowed hard and said, "He crossed a line last night." I didn't ask what her husband did. I didn't need to. The moment she said it, I saw something in her eyes, hurt mixed with disappointment, a bruise that wasn't on her skin but on her spirit. She said she forgave him, but her voice trembled like forgiveness was just a word she picked because the alternative was too heavy to carry. We talked in my office with the door closed. Not touching, not flirting, just two people who needed a place to put their pain. But the silence that settled afterward wasn't innocent. It hummed, it pulled us closer, it dared one of us to move first. She was the one who stood up and came closer. Not too close, just enough to test my resolve. Enough to make my heart slam against my ribs. Enough that her perfume brushed the air between us like a whisper I wasn't allowed to hear. She didn't kiss me. She didn't have to. All she did was rest her forehead lightly against my chest for a fraction of a second, seeking comfort, warmth, grounding. It broke me. My hands reacted before my mind did, pulling her close. Her breath hitched. Mine did too. For a moment, it felt like the world stopped respecting the rules we had tried so hard to protect. I didn't plan it. I didn't strategize or fantasize about it. It just happened. She whispered, "I shouldn't be here." I whispered, "I know." But she didn't leave, and I didn't let her go. By the time we realized how far the moment had slipped, the line between right and wrong wasn't a line anymore. It was a smudge, faint and useless, something we couldn't even find again even when we tried. What happened next wasn't planned. It wasn't graceful. It was raw, emotional, the kind of connection born from two people who weren't supposed to need each other, but did. And when it was over, I waited for regret to hit. It didn't. Not for me, not for her. Instead, she said something I'll never forget. "You forgave me before I forgave myself." And that was the start of everything that followed. After that day, nothing looked the same. Not work, not the simple act of speaking to her, not the way my phone buzzed at night. We didn't plan for anything more to happen, yet both of us knew the door had been cracked open, and doors don't unopen. Her forgiveness of her husband created a strange paradox. She forgave him, yet found comfort with me. And I forgave her, for wanting me in ways she wasn't supposed to. We told ourselves it was emotional, not physical. We lied. We told ourselves it wasn't serious. We lied again. We told ourselves we could stop. That was the biggest lie of all. One night, she showed up at my place shaking. Not from fear, but from the exhaustion of carrying too much for too long. She didn't ask to come in, she just stood there waiting for me to decide whether I wanted to close the door or open it wider. I opened it wider. Inside, she held me like she had been waiting years to feel safe in someone's arms. Not owned, not claimed, not controlled, just seen, heard, held. She cried, not because of guilt, but because for the first time in a long time, she felt desired in a way that wasn't obligatory. She felt wanted for who she was, not the role she carried. I didn't judge her, I didn't moralize, I didn't push her away. She had already crossed her line. I crossed mine willingly, but forgiveness, real forgiveness, changes the way a person breathes. It makes them reckless, brave, hungry. She whispered things she had never said to anyone else. She admitted wants she had never acted on. She explored a part of herself she had buried for years. And with every moment she opened up, I did too. But the true turning point wasn't the nights we shared or the secrets we exchanged. It was the night she asked me a question that froze my blood. If you weren't afraid of consequences, would you choose me? It wasn't a fair question. But I answered anyway, yes. That was when I realized we weren't in an affair anymore. We were in something dangerously close to love. Every story like ours has a point of no return. A moment where you know, deep down, that if you continue, you will break something that can never be fixed. Our moment happened on a weekend she wasn't supposed to be free. She told her husband she needed time to clear her head. He believed her, he trusted her, and somehow that trust made her cling to me even harder. We spent that weekend in a small private lodge outside town. I paid for everything, she paid with her presence. From the moment she stepped inside, it felt like the entire world had faded. No titles, no rings, no responsibilities, just us, two people who met too late and wanted too much. We cooked together, talked for hours, laughed like we were rediscovering pieces of ourselves we forgot existed. She rested her head on my lap while telling me childhood stories she had never shared with her husband. I told her fears I'd never told anyone. It was intimacy beyond the physical. Dangerous intimacy, relationship-level intimacy, and that scared me more than anything we'd done. That night, she looked at me like she had made a decision, one she was terrified to say out loud. I don't think I want to go back home, she whispered. My heart stopped. This was the moment we should have ended it. The moment I should have pushed her away. The moment she should have walked out of the lodge before feelings ruined everything. But I didn't push her away. And she didn't walk out. Instead, she slept in my arms, peacefully, deeply, like my presence was the safest place she had ever known. And when morning came, the consequences were sitting at the edge of the bed, waiting patiently for us to open our eyes. Because people can run from guilt, but guilt runs faster. The end didn't come with a fight. It came with a decision. She didn't get caught. Her husband never suspected a thing. There were no messages discovered. No slips. No evidence. No scandal. But secrets are heavy, and hers began to crush her. She came to me one evening, calm but trembling internally. I love what we had, she said softly, but loving it is the reason I have to stop. I knew it was coming. I just didn't expect it to hurt. She said she forgave her husband not because he deserved it, but because she wasn't ready to destroy the life she built. She said she forgave me too, not for hurting her, but for showing her what she had been missing. And then she added the part that changed everything. If my husband ever knew, he wouldn't forgive me. That's why I have to stay anonymous. I need this to stay with you, and nowhere else. I promised her it would. I've kept that promise to this day. We ended things quietly. No drama, no shouting, Just two people letting go of something beautiful because the world wasn't built to let them keep it. But here's the real twist. Her leaving didn't destroy me. It refined me. Forgiving her taught me softness. Loving her taught me depth. Losing her taught me boundaries. And letting her go taught me strength. Sometimes the person who crosses your line becomes the person who teaches you why the line existed in the first place. But sometimes, if you're lucky, they also teach you why you crossed it anyway. And that was what truly happened. All names, characters, and events in this story are fictional and created for mature storytelling purposes only. Any resemblance to real individuals or events is purely coincidental. This content is for adults and entertainment only. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this intense, heartfelt confession. Stories like this remind us that forgiveness can open doors we never expected, sometimes beautiful, sometimes dangerous. If you enjoyed this mature, emotional journey, make sure you hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. More powerful stories, more confessions, and more late-night narratives are on the way. Don't miss what's coming next.